On this Monday night, the investigation into a mid-air scare. What's been found after that Alaska Airlines blowout.
A loud boom or almost like a mini explosion.
And were warning signs ignored? Seeking justice 4 years after the Iranian military shot down a passenger plane. How a grieving father says Iran is trying to silence him.
Maybe they put me in jail or beat me, or I have nothing to lose.
Plus, the race back to the moon, why the first American lunar landing attempt in decades is in jeopardy. And an historic win at the Golden Globes, the actor putting Indigenous pride into the spotlight.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. As inspectors begin checking all the Boeing 737 MAX 9 airplanes grounded in the U.S., there is new information about Friday's dramatic mid-air blowout of a section of an Alaska Airlines flight. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board says pilots reported pressurization warning lights on 3 previous flights of that same aircraft. And tonight, federal officials say an important clue has been recovered in the backyard of a Portland school teacher named Bob.
I'm excited to announce that we found the door plug. Woo. Thank you, Bob.
A door plug is used to fill an emergency exit on a plane that is not needed on the flight. It blew out shortly after takeoff from Portland Friday night. There were no serious injuries, but the mid-air scare was terrifying. And all 737 MAX 9 planes in the U.S. are grounded tonight. And this afternoon, United Airlines has confirmed inspections of its MAX 9 aircraft have turned up some installation issues that include loose bolts. Jackson Proskow reports on what we know in our top story tonight.
The gaping hole in the Alaska Airlines plane may offer investigators the best clues as to what happened to the Boeing 737 MAX 9 shortly after takeoff. The in-flight decompression was so powerful it ripped open the cockpit door, bent seats, and blew headrests out of the fuselage.
A loud boom or almost like a mini explosion.
Incredibly, there were no serious injuries.
I found a phone sitting on the side of the road that had apparently fallen 16,000 feet.
On the ground, debris, including cell phones, is now turning up.
It was in airplane mode with a travel confirmation and baggage claim for Alaska 1282.
Late Sunday, a school teacher located part of the plane that detached the door plug in their backyard.
We're going to go pick that up and make sure that we begin analyzing it.
The plug was behind the left wing. It's where the MAX 9 can have an optional emergency exit installed. Alaska Airlines didn't need the exit, so the opening had been plugged and sealed, leaving an ordinary window. The NTSB says the plane had reported pressurization issues 3 times before the incident. Alaska Airlines kept the aircraft in service, but restricted it from long flights over water as a precaution.
The maintenance people, went through and did their checks. The pilots followed proper procedures in the cockpit, and Alaska Airlines was comfortable with this aircraft flying.
The plane was just a few months old, leading to speculation about a potential manufacturing defect. As the investigation continues, one key piece of evidence is missing. The cockpit voice recorder automatically erased because it wasn't recovered within 2 hours of the incident. The NTSB wants rules changed to require 25 hours of data preserved in all new aircraft. As a precaution, all 171 MAX 9 aircraft in service in the United States remain grounded, leaving hundreds of flights canceled and thousands of travelers scrambling to adjust their plans. Meanwhile, shares in airplane maker Boeing are down sharply as the incident delivers yet another blow to the company's reputation. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Arlington, Virginia.
The Manitoba government is promising $12 million to improve a highway intersection where 17 people died last summer. Their minibus was hit by a semi-trailer on the Trans-Canada Highway near Carberry. Today's report is not an investigation into that crash itself, but does propose changes to the intersection that is known to be dangerous. Marney Blunt is in Dauphin. That's home to most of the victims. Marney.
Donna, this community has been forever changed ever since a bus carrying 25 passengers left here 6 months ago. It was headed to a casino near Carberry when it collided with a semi on Highway 1, killing 17 people. And now a new report from the province aims to ensure that a tragedy like this will never happen again.
This is a difficult topic for all of us, but more so for the family members, of those we lost in this terrible tragedy, and of course for the survivors.
The province briefing family members of victims and survivors before releasing the report Monday. Many of the short-term safety enhancements have already been put in place, including additional signage, flashing lights, and refurbishing the rumble strips. There are also plans for review on speed and speed compliance. The crux of the report, the medium-term options, which include 3 alternatives, including a median widening, a roundabout, or a reduced conflict intersection, which forces drivers to turn right and do a U-turn when trying to go through the intersection. One of those 3 options will be selected through a public consultation process in about 6 months. It's an estimated $12 million project with construction planned for 2025 and a target of being complete by fall 2026. The longer-term option being considered an interchange, which would take more than 25 years. Adrian Zerba's mother, Claudia, died in the crash. She says she can't go near the intersection, but was pleased to hear the plans.
Changes have to come. And I think what they brought forward today, I'm happy with it. It does give me some peace.
As for the investigation into the crash, Manitoba RCMP say it's still ongoing. On Monday, officers wouldn't say whether or not criminal charges have been ruled out, but did say they have not yet been able to speak to the driver who was injured in the crash. Donna?
All right, Marney Blunt in Dauphin, Manitoba, thanks. Police in New York State have identified the Montreal woman killed in a bus crash in Lake George, New York. She is 74-year-old Jeanne Elzani Jourdain-Collin. 11 others were injured when the tour bus crashed while en route from Montreal to New York City on Friday. One person is in critical condition. Global Affairs Canada says it's providing consular help to the victim's family. It is not yet clear what caused the crash. Israel's siege on Gaza has entered its 4th month and reached a grim milestone. Gaza's health ministry, run by Hamas, says the number of people killed in Gaza since October 7th has now topped 23,000. That's about 1% of Gaza's total population. The American Secretary of State is back in Israel tonight. Antony Blinken is meeting face-to-face with government officials. After weeks of U.S. pressure to reduce the number of civilians being killed, the Israeli military claims it is now entering a new, less intense phase of its invasion of Gaza. As Redmond Shannon reports, the reported death of an elite Hezbollah commander in southern Lebanon is stoking fears of a widening conflict.
From Jordan and Qatar on Sunday on to Abu Dhabi Monday morning for U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to meet United Arab Emirates President Al Nahyan. Then to Saudi Arabia to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Everywhere I went, I found leaders who were determined to prevent the conflict that we're facing now from spreading.
It has spread beyond Gaza and Israel to airstrikes, killings and skirmishes in the West Bank, Syria, Iraq, the Red Sea and Lebanon. On Monday, an airstrike in Lebanon reportedly killed Hezbollah commander Wissam al-Tawil, a week after the killing of the Hamas deputy leader there too. Israel has not commented, but is believed to be behind Monday's airstrike.
In regard to Lebanon, it's clearly not in the interest of anyone. Israel, Lebanon, Hezbollah, for that matter, to see this escalate.
Iran is thought to fund Hezbollah and Hamas. Its foreign ministry calling U.S. support for Israel a root cause of the crisis. The King of Jordan more measured in his criticism of Israel.
How can indiscriminate aggression and shelling bring peace? How can they guarantee security when they build on hatred?
Inside Gaza, the threat of airstrikes sit alongside a growing humanitarian crisis. Despite the destruction of Israel's military campaign, rocket fire from Gaza continues too. The Iron Dome lighting up the sky in Israel as Blinken arrives to de-escalate a war that shows little sign of slowing down. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
It's been 4 years since the Iranian military shot down Ukraine Airlines Flight 752, killing all 176 people on board, including 55 Canadians. Iran admitted the plane was shot down by a unit of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, which fired 2 surface-to-air missiles. The families of those who died are still grieving. Today, memorials took place around the world, including in Ontario, to honor the victims.
We will continue our work, including continuing to look for ways to responsibly list the IRGC as a terrorist organization.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Iran must be held accountable. As Negar Moshtahedi reports, the victims' families say they've been the subject of intimidation and harassment as they call for justice.
This is Sophie, this is me, and this is Sahan.
It's been 4 years since Vahid Emami lost 4 family members, including his wife and daughter.
Oh, I miss her.
All of them killed in the downing of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. Sophie would have turned 9 this year.
I'm never gonna see how she grow and what she gonna look like.
Compounding the loss, Sophie's grandmother in Iran was recently arrested.
They just took her and beat her and put her in jail.
Manzar Zarobi's apparent crime, attending the funeral of Armita Gerovan, a 16-year-old who died weeks after she was allegedly shoved by Iran's morality police, activists say, for not wearing a hijab.
I'm angry, I'm mad because I'm here and I think I can do nothing. I'm far away from them.
We want to get the truth out of Iran.
Iran could soon be held accountable for the shooting down of flight PS752. Canada, Sweden, Ukraine, and the UK have taken Iran to the International Court of Justice in The Hague.
Iran's behavior so far in going through these steps has been absolutely farcical.
Ralph Goodale, Canada's special advisor on Flight 752, announcing Monday that the 4 countries have also filed proceedings against Iran at the International Civil Aviation Organization.
We'll be pursuing Iran in 2 different forums under 2 different international treaties.
The intimidation tactics and harassment taking place, Goodale says, is unacceptable.
This is one of the dimensions of this case that is very troubling. It is foreign interference.
We will keep fighting.
If Canada can't succeed in its efforts, Vahid Emami says he'll do whatever it takes to seek justice, including going to Iran.
Maybe they put me in jail or beat me or whatever, but I have nothing to lose.
Negar Moshtahedi, Global News, Vancouver.
It could be a multi-billion-dollar deal for a small Canadian town. Coming up, will Honda bring its electric vehicle ambitions to Ontario? Americans are cleaning up from their first major snowstorm of 2024. Which blanketed the Northeast over the weekend, and they're preparing for what's coming. Widespread rain is forecast for tomorrow night. That could trigger flash floods. And a separate storm system is moving north through the Midwest. Some states could get up to 30 centimeters of snow by Tuesday. That same system will move through southern Ontario and Quebec tomorrow. It could bring up to 30 centimeters of snow there. Heavy snow is also falling across parts of BC. Drivers are being warned to stay clear of several major highways. Environment Canada has issued weather warnings, watches, or statements in nearly every province today. It's almost like it's winter. Welcome, 2024. Honda is reportedly considering Canada for its next multi-billion-dollar electric vehicle plant. Government sources say talks will be happening with Honda this week about the potential deal. Canada plans to end the sale of gas-powered passenger vehicles by 2035. This new plant would likely be a key production hub for Honda. Abigail Beeman reports on what the deal could mean for Canada.
Just the idea that Honda may invest $18.5 billion for an electric vehicle plant in this small Ontario town has people buzzing.
All I can say, if Honda is watching this, there's no better place than New-Tecumseth. We've shown it to you, we've proven it to you, and we'd like to do it again.
Mayor Richard Norcross says Honda's 2 assembly plants and spin-off industries make it the biggest employer in town. The company is committed to selling only EVs in North America by 2040, and Japanese media reports the automaker has its eye on Canada for a major investment to do so. A government source tells Global News federal departments, including the Prime Minister's office, have a meeting with Honda this week, but no one is confirming a deal just yet. In a statement, Honda Canada says it's currently focused on its EV hub in Ohio, but in order to achieve the 2040 target, we are considering various options to increase local production capacity.
I think we're very well positioned to be on the short list.
The Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association believes Canada can support the resources and labor force needed and points to Honda's nearly 40 years in Ontario.
So we like to say, look, never walk past an old friend to greet a new one. This is not just an old friend. This is the official sponsor of the Toronto Blue Jays. They're part of the Canadian fabric.
While former Toyota executive Greg Mordew thinks it will be an uphill battle to secure the deal.
Canada will be in deep to try to lure this, but the reality at the end of the day, Canada is not the major market. The U.S. is the major market.
Ottawa has already committed nearly $30 billion in subsidies for Stellantis and Volkswagen's 2 new Ontario battery plants. The big question for a potential Honda deal: will there be more money? Abigail Beeman, Global News, Ottawa.
Apple has started issuing payments in a long-running class action lawsuit over claims it deliberately slowed down older iPhone models in 2017. The settlement applies to American customers and is worth roughly $500 million U.S. Payments work out to about $92 per claim. Apple originally denied any wrongdoing, but later admitted it did intentionally slow down some iPhone models as they aged to convince users to buy new iPhones. A hearing to approve a similar settlement in Canada will be held later this month. Lunar landing ahead, how new competitors are entering the space race.
Five, 4, 3, we have ignition and liftoff.
It's going to the moon, at least that's the plan. The first U.S. lunar lander in more than 50 years launched just fine, but then encountered a problem. The spacecraft, designed by a Pittsburgh-based aerospace company, is attempting to be the first private lunar lander, if it can actually land. Eric Sorensen explains.
And liftoff of the first United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket.
Get used to this. Missions to the moon coming fast and furious, setbacks notwithstanding. The first launch of a private moon lander, Astrobotic's Peregrine, had a smooth start.
Everything looking good.
But there was a glitch. Astrobotic says a failure within the propulsion system is causing a critical loss of propellant. Still, that will not stop the onslaught of lunar missions, including the first American soft moon landing since the Apollo 17 mission, when the last of 12 men walked on the moon 51 years ago.
Scientists in the United States around the world have been dying to get back to the surface of the moon. This is going to be our first chance to go back and really make those measurements that really touch the surface and see what's really there.
The Peregrine spacecraft en route to the moon was to orbit the Earth and the moon over several weeks and finally touch down next month. Now the mission is prioritizing the science that it can capture. But it's only the first private moon mission this year. Intuitive Machines' Nova C will launch in February aboard a SpaceX rocket, taking a more direct path to the moon. And a third company, Firefly's Blue Ghost lander, will launch later this year. They're all supported by NASA.
NASA can absorb the cost of failures by private companies in return for payload transportation.
NASA's looking to build these partnerships with industry to help launch the private space industry.
Competition is fierce to harness the scientific and commercial potential of the moon. China brought back lunar samples in 2020. India executed a soft landing just last year. And Russia plans to set up a moon base in the next decade. Canada is part of NASA's Artemis mission that could see Canadian Jeremy Hansen orbit the moon as early as this November. The number of countries and companies entering the space race is only growing.
I do see a kind of a momentum that's built, and of course now we have several private space companies that want to be a part of that.
And no single setback will slow down a new era in exploring the moon and beyond. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Monday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is the Rose Blanche Lighthouse in Rose Blanche, Harbour-Lacou, Newfoundland and Labrador. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.